For decades, it was the biggest scandal in the British monarchy. A forbidden love that didn't just shatter a fairy tale marriage, it broke the public's trust and nearly tore the House of Windsor apart. This is the story of how Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles, once the most vilified couple in Britain, finally made it to the altar against all odds. Their journey is a tangled web of duty, devotion, public fury, and deep personal tragedy. It's a story that makes you question everything you think you know about love, loyalty, and the real price of the crown. To understand how they reached their improbable wedding day, we have to go back to the very beginning more than 30 years before. When a future king met the woman who would change his life, and the monarchy forever. Picture it. The year is 1970. We're on a windswept polo field at Windsor Great Park. Prince Charles, the 22-year-old heir to the throne, is a young man carrying the weight of a pre-written destiny. He's handsome, earnest, and deeply sensitive, but also isolated by the strange pressures of his job. And it's here that he meets a 24-year-old woman named Camilla Shand. She's confident, witty, and has a down-to-earth charm that's the complete opposite of the stiff formality of palace life. As the legend goes, Camilla walked right up to the prince with a shockingly bold opening line. "My great-grandmother was the mistress of your great-great-grandfather. I feel we have something in common." Whether she said those exact words or not, it captures the essence of their instant connection. It was a spark. They were drawn together by a shared sense of humor, a love for the British countryside, and an easy intimacy that Charles had rarely ever felt. They started dating, and for a little while, it seemed like a perfect match. In Camilla, Charles found a confidant, a friend, and a lover who got him in a way nobody else did. She wasn't starstruck by his title. She was interested in the man himself. Their romance blossomed away from the public eye, built on inside jokes, long walks, and late-night phone calls. For the prince, it was a profound and liberating connection. By all accounts, he was completely smitten. But this was the 1970s, and the heir to the throne wasn't just a man in love. He was an institution. The rules for a future queen were unwritten but crystal clear. She had to be an aristocrat and crucially a virgin. Camilla, with her past boyfriends and her perception as a commoner in the strictest royal sense, just didn't fit the mold. On top of that, duty was calling. In 1971, Charles was deployed overseas with the Royal Navy for a long assignment that would put thousands of miles between them. Their budding romance, so full of promise, was cut short. That distance created a void, and the pressures of their separate worlds started closing in. Charles had to serve his country, and nobody expected Camilla, a popular and well-connected young woman, to just wait around for a prince who hadn't made a commitment. The fairy tale had barely begun, but the crown had other plans. It was a separation that would trigger a chain of events leading to heartbreak, scandal, and a love story far more complicated than either of them could have ever imagined. With Prince Charles away at sea, the private world he and Camilla had built together fell apart. In 1973, Camilla Shand married Andrew Parker Bowles, a dashing cavalry officer she'd been dating on and off for years. Ironically, Andrew was a friend of Charles's and had even dated his sister, Princess Anne. The marriage cemented Camilla's place in the upper crust of British society, and soon she was a mother to 2 children, Tom and Laura. On the surface, she had moved on. She was Mrs. Parker Bowles. Charles returned from his naval duties to find the woman he loved married to someone else. He was, by all accounts, devastated. But their bond was just too deep to break. They stayed in each other's orbits, their lives still tangled together through a shared social circle of aristocrats and royals. Kyle was even named godfather to Camilla's son, decision that speaks volumes about the enduring, if complicated, nature of their friendship. As the 1970s wore on, the pressure on Prince Charles to find a suitable bride became intense. The nation and the world was waiting for its future king to get married and produce an heir. His search became a public spectacle. Every woman he was photographed with was suddenly the subject of rampant media speculation. He was linked to a string of aristocratic young women, but none of them seemed to capture his heart the way Camilla had. Then, in 1980, he began courting Lady Diana Spencer. She was just 19 years old. He was 32. She was beautiful, shy, and from a noble family with deep royal connections. And most importantly, in the eyes of the palace, she was a virgin. In every conceivable way, she was the perfect candidate for a future queen. After a whirlwind courtship, their engagement was announced in February 1981, and the world was instantly mesmerized. On July 29, 1981, Prince Charles married Diana in a lavish ceremony at St. Paul's Cathedral. It was billed as the wedding of the century, a true fairy tale event watched by an estimated 750 million people around the globe. The bride, in her magnificent gown with its 25-foot train, became an instant icon. Everyone hoped this union would secure the future of the Windsor line and finally bring the Prince of Wales the happiness he deserved. And Camilla Parker Bowles was a guest at the wedding. She was there, watching from the pews, as the man she once loved pledged his life to another woman. For a brief moment, it seemed like everyone had accepted their new reality. Charles and Diana became the Prince and Princess of Wales, and Camilla continued her life as a country wife and mother. But the connection between Charles and Camilla wasn't gone. It had just gone dormant, waiting for the cracks in the fairy tale marriage to appear. And it wouldn't be long before they did. The wedding of the century quickly gave way to a much messier reality. That 13-year age gap between Charles and Diana, once dismissed as a minor detail, turned out to be a massive chasm. They were 2 completely different people with different personalities, interests, and emotional needs. Charles was quiet and intellectual, happiest in the countryside. Diana was vibrant and emotionally intuitive, but she struggled with the intense pressures and crushing isolation of royal life. The perfect image the public saw was hiding a growing private misery. And in that environment of marital strain, Charles sought comfort from the one person who had always seemed to understand him. By 1986, his friendship with Camilla Parker Bowles had rekindled and crossed the line back into a full-blown affair. It was a betrayal that would come to define an entire era of the monarchy. For Charles, it was a return to the comfort and easy connection he'd lost. For Diana, it was a devastating confirmation of her worst fears. The public, of course, knew nothing about this. They just saw the glamorous Prince and Princess of Wales, parents to their two beloved sons, William and Harry. Diana, especially, had become a global superstar. Her compassion, her style, and her vulnerability connected with people in a way no royal ever had. She was the people's princess, and the world's affection for her was fierce. This adoration is what would make the eventual revelation of the affair so explosive. Camilla, a name few people even knew, was just a shadow in the background, the third party in the world's most famous marriage. Inside the palace, the situation was becoming impossible. Diana knew all about her husband's relationship with Camilla, a painful reality that fueled her loneliness and paranoia. She later summed up the heartbreak of this period in one devastating sentence. The public might have seen a royal couple, but she knew the truth was far more crowded. The stage was set for a scandal of epic proportions. The private turmoil of three people was about to explode into a public war, fought on the front pages of newspapers around the world, shaking the very foundations of the British monarchy. The fairy tale wasn't just shattering, but it was about to be obliterated. The 1990s was the decade when the private agony of the Waleses' marriage became a brutal public spectacle. The carefully managed royal facade didn't just crack, it crumbled. The scandal the palace had feared for so long finally erupted. The first major blow came in 1992 with Andrew Morton's bombshell book, Diana, Her True Story. Through secret interviews with the princess herself, the book laid bare the misery of her marriage, her struggles with bulimia, and her profound unhappiness. Most importantly, it pointed the finger directly at Camilla Parker Bowles as the main reason the marriage had failed. For the first time, the public had a name and a face for the other woman. The book was a declaration of war. In December of that same year, the Prime Minister formally announced the separation of the Prince and Princess of Wales. Just a month later, in January 1993, the scandal hit a new, mortifying low. A transcript of a secretly recorded, intensely private phone call between Charles and Camilla from 1989 was leaked to the tabloids. Suddenly, the world was reading their intimate pillow talk. The Camillagate tapes, as they were nicknamed, were a PR catastrophe. The explicit nature of the call was shocking, but it was the infamous line where Charles joked about being reincarnated as Camilla's tampon that became a global punchline. It was a moment of deep humiliation for the future king, stripping him of his dignity and exposing his relationship to public ridicule. The Windsors were in full-blown crisis. Trying to repair his image, Prince Charles sat down for a TV interview in June 1994, where he admitted to his adultery, a stunning confession for an heir to the throne. He tried to explain it, saying he was faithful until his marriage had irretrievably broken down. But the damage was done. He had publicly confessed to betraying the world's most beloved princess. Diana, however, would have the final, most devastating word. In November 1995, she gave her own secret bombshell interview to the BBC's Panorama. Speaking with raw, captivating honesty, she detailed the pressures of her life and her husband's infidelity. When the interviewer asked her about Camilla's role in the marriage, she delivered the line that would be etched in history forever. "Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." That one sentence cemented public opinion more than anything else. It framed the narrative perfectly. Diana, the beautiful, wronged princess, and Camilla, the calculating marriage wrecker. Public sympathy was overwhelmingly with Diana, Camilla, who stayed silent through the whole saga, became one of the most hated women in Britain. The battle for public opinion had been fought and, for now, decisively lost. Their love affair wasn't a private matter anymore. It was a national disgrace that had left the monarchy reeling. After Diana's Panorama interview, the end of the War of the Waleses was inevitable. The Queen, seeing the irreparable harm it was causing the monarchy, urged the couple to divorce. In August 1996, the marriage was officially over. Camilla and Andrew Parker Bowles had also divorced. The legal ties that bound them to other people were finally gone. But that freedom didn't bring them together. Public opinion was nowhere near ready to accept Camilla. Then, on August 31, 1997, the unthinkable happened. Diana, Princess of Wales, was killed in a car crash in Paris. The world was hit by a tidal wave of grief and disbelief. But as the shock wore off, that sorrow quickly turned to anger. In the eyes of many, Charles and Camilla were now seen as having contributed to the circumstances that led to Diana's tragic death. The hatred for Camilla, in particular, reached a fever pitch. She was the woman Charles had left the people's princess for, and in the raw emotion of the moment, she became a target for the public's rage. In the immediate aftermath, Charles and Camilla had no choice but to retreat. Their relationship went completely underground. Any chance of them having a public life together seemed impossible. The memory of Diana was now saintly, and the shadow she cast was longer than ever. But behind the scenes, a slow, meticulous, and incredibly delicate plan was taking shape. It was a long-term PR campaign, reportedly nicknamed Operation Ritz, designed to slowly rehabilitate Camilla's image and gradually introduce her as a legitimate part of Prince Charles's life. Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles' relationship, which began as a secret affair, eventually led to a wedding that defied royal traditions. In 1998, Camilla met Prince William for the first time as his father's partner. Though the Queen disapproved, she began to soften her stance, attending a 2000 party where Camilla was also a guest. However, the major public breakthrough came in 1999 when Charles and Camilla attended a birthday party for Camilla's sister at the Ritz Hotel in London. For the first time, they publicly exited together, smiling for photographers, a carefully staged moment signaling their commitment. It was the first step in their long journey toward public acceptance. Over the next few years, Camilla gradually took on public duties, focusing on charity work, including osteoporosis awareness, and became a constant presence by Charles's side. She never spoke about Diana, and public hostility towards her gradually softened. In 2002, the Church of England made a groundbreaking decision to allow divorced individuals to remarry in church under exceptional circumstances, lifting the main barrier to Charles and Camilla's marriage. Public opinion, however, remained divided, with some still viewing a potential wedding as a betrayal of Diana. On February 10, 2005, Clarence House officially announced that Charles would marry Camilla. It was confirmed the wedding would be a low-key civil ceremony, with Camilla's title as Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Cornwall to avoid any conflict with Diana's title. The public reaction was mixed, but the royal family, including the Queen and Prince William, expressed their support. The wedding on April 9, 2005, was a modest affair held at Windsor Guildhall, followed by a religious blessing at St. George's Chapel. Camilla wore a simple cream dress for the civil ceremony and a pale blue and gold embroidered coat for the blessing. The Queen and Prince Philip attended the religious service, giving the union their royal seal of approval. Despite not being a grand royal wedding, it symbolized the couple's long journey through scandal, public criticism, and personal loss. It wasn't a fairy tale, but it marked a quiet, hard-won victory for their enduring love. The 2005 wedding was just the beginning of a new chapter for Camilla. Duchess of Cornwall, she threw herself into royal duties, championing causes such as literacy, animal welfare, and osteoporosis awareness. Over time, her public image improved. The same media that once vilified her began to portray her as warm, down-to-earth, and a steady influence on Charles. Her quiet resilience and unwavering support for Charles helped shift public perception, and by 2022, Queen Elizabeth II endorsed Camilla's future role as Queen Consort, ending the earlier plan for her to be Princess Consort. When Queen Elizabeth II passed away in September 2022, Charles became King Charles III, and Camilla was officially crowned Queen Consort at their coronation in May 2023. This moment was symbolic, representing not only a personal victory for Camilla, but also the monarchy's ability to evolve and accept her in a role once deemed unimaginable. Their love story, which began with scandal and sorrow, became a testament to endurance, public transformation, and the monarchy's modernizing journey. It's a story of how love, despite being seen as a national disgrace at one point, found its place at the heart of the British monarchy. The enduring saga of Charles and Camilla serves as a powerful reminder of how time, perseverance, and quiet dedication can change hearts and minds. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments which royal story we should cover. Next, the journey of King Charles. 3. And Queen Camilla, from a secret affair to the throne, is one of the most dramatic royal sagas in modern history. It's a story of a love that endured decades of public condemnation, personal tragedy, and the immense pressure of duty. Their path was marked by scandal and heartbreak, which most profoundly affected the life and legacy of Princess Diana. Yet, it also became a story of quiet perseverance and eventual acceptance. The couple's ability to weather the storm and Camilla's slow, steady climb into the heart of the royal family shows not only their personal commitment, but also a bigger shift in society and in the monarchy's ability to evolve. Their story forces us to look beyond the easy narratives of heroes and villains and consider the complex, messy human emotions at play behind the palace walls. It is a chronicle of a forbidden love that ultimately triumphed, but it leaves us with a poignant and enduring question. Was it worth the cost?